Okay, Bailey, I don't think people fully understand that when they message me and they are like, oh my God, I bought roses from Heirloom Roses. If you don't tell me what kind of roses you got, that's my next question. And it's probably going to be in all caps because I'm so excited. And then what happens is people DM me back and they tell me what kind they got. And they probably think that it's just whatever, people trying to
Yeah.
engage with their audience. I look it up
Yeah.
every time. I look up the varieties every single time.
That's so cool, though. That's so cool.
See
What
what people
colors?
pick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the woman I was just talking to, she picked this one called Joan Fontaine. That was this
Oh.
really a creamy vintage cream slight apricot vibes. I feel like a sommelier.
Ooh.
Is there a rose sommelier? Is that a thing?
You should ask Heirloom Roses. Hey,
Hey.
I have an idea.
And then the other one she picked was called Ebb Tide. Ebb Tide.
Mm-hmm.
That felt funny coming out of my mouth. I don't know why. And it was
Hopefully
like,
that's what it's called.
I know, hopefully I didn't just make that up. And it was the most beautiful dark purple color.
Ooh,
And I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
dang, these colors together feel like a royal palace.
I love that.
You know what
I
I
love that.
mean?
It is really fun to see what people pick. Yeah, because everyone's
Yeah.
so different.
Yeah.
Everyone approaches it for different reasons. So
And like
I love that.
I just need everybody to know. I'm gonna ask what you got.
So just tell me.
So just tell me. Let's just save each other the trouble. And then also need everybody to know I look them up. I stop what I'm doing and I take the time to look up pictures because I want to know. So I guess that's how we're starting this week.
Yeah, want to talk about plants?
Yes. Yes, I do. All right, Bailey. What's growing on?
What's growing on? The peony bush is still alive, just in case anybody was scared about that. She's still alive.
We also got some
Yeah.
responses from people who grow peonies.
We did.
And I sent them to you.
You did.
So
you
thank
did.
you
And it was
for the plant community.
Yes. Thank you from the plant community. I responded to Brooke and said, people helping people in all capital letters. People helping people. No, it's so good because look, you can read all the books in the world, but it doesn't compare to when you're actually doing something. So for those of you that responded, I really appreciate it. I think generally what we learned is that most people are not digging them back out of the earth and they seem to do fine. It probably also depends. I know the one comment, they said something along the lines of some of their peonies did fine and some of them have been smaller. So they've got some bigger ones that seem really bushy and the other ones maybe not so much. So I don't know. That might just be a variety issue. I'm not really sure. But yeah, thank you to the plant community and to those of you that responded about that because it's already devastating enough that I don't get to cut them for the first few years. That was very sad. But then thinking about the fact that I have to not cut them and then dig them out of the ground, it's like, oh God. But peony bush is still alive. We've gotten enough sun during the day that she can stay outside for a while and then she comes back in at night because it's still getting down into freezing.
Too cold.
And over the weekend, we cleaned up the cottage garden space. So for those of you that haven't listened to the prior two episodes, we're starting from scratch, rebuilding from scratch. We ripped out the pull-up bars, which was a whole situation. And now we're at the point where I had to go to Lowe's and get the ugly orange marking paint, finding flags. Who knew that finding landscape flags in Lowe's was going to be such a goddamn adventure?
I order them on Amazon. I'm not going to lie.
That would have been helpful a few days ago when I was trying so hard to be kind because it was a Saturday in the spring at Lowe's. Everyone's on edge.
Why is everybody having such a bad time in the spring at Lowe's? I just want to ask people. I'm like, you don't have to be here, right?
Well, I feel if you really pay attention, one, I think it's kind of like the grocery store. I think the time of day matters.
Oh, I hate the grocery
store.
store.
And two, I think
I hate the grocery store every time of the day. Hate it.
Me too. Which is such a problem for two people who have to cook at home because of our dietary restrictions. It's a whole thing.
Well, and I love food and I love to cook. I hate the grocery store.
Well, here's the deal. The people at your local hardware stores on the weekends in the spring, they're weekend warriors, right?
Yeah, that's true. They're like
You know
they
what I
got
mean?
limited time to get shit done.
They're on a mission.
Yeah.
And so with all that being said, I got sent around the Lowe's store 5 different times to find these flags. And finally, God bless this woman. She goes, "You look lost." And I said,
I am.
I am. I'm just trying to find landscape flags, which weirdly, just in case you're looking for them, they're not in the landscaping department.
No, why would they be? That makes way too much sense.
Why would they be?
Where were they?
They were with the tools and safety equipment.
The safety
Yep.
equipment?
Aisle 62, in case you're wondering.
I low-key want to go to Lowe's and check aisle 62 just to see if the landscape
I mean,
flags are there.
and on the end cap, not in the aisle, on the end cap. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I got the landscape flags. So we got everything mapped out. I'm super excited about it. My husband called the people to start coming out and marking. If there's men listening to this, I'm sorry if your wife is this way, but I am this way. I would not have called the phone number to get them out here to mark the lawn.
Call before you dig. It's like 811 or something.
That's exactly what it is. And my husband's like, "You cannot put a shovel in the ground until we do that." I was like, "Why? That seems silly."
You want to know why?
No.
Do you want to know? Because I did it.
Go ahead.
I did it. And it was cold as shit outside. And I busted an irrigation line. I thought it was a City of Austin water line. So I called the water people and was like, "Hi, I did a bad. As my yard is flooding." He came out. He said, "Your water line is fine. Let me in the backyard." I said, "Okay." Well, before he had gotten there, no, actually this happened before he got there. Cam had figured out that it was actually an irrigation line. We don't use our irrigation. We don't use our sprinklers. And so you want to know what he did? He walked his happy ass over there and turned it off. At the box. Yeah. And it was not a city, but the City of Austin water guy still came out. And I think he was very entertained by how stupid I was. So, Bailey, yes, this is why you call before you dig.
I was just going to say, you're the prime example of why you call before you dig. So we did that. We've had people out here, marking up our lawn again, which is great. So that was what's going on. And then seedlings update. Everything seems to be doing okay. I think the Snapdragons have finally decided to join the party. So that's cool. I thought, this is me being novice, I thought originally that the leaves that were coming up were Snapdragons. Turns out they were lavender seeds that I accidentally spread over near the Snapdragons.
Missed. Yeah, they kind of got flung. Yeah.
Look, that was before I discovered the tweezer method, and it's just the tweezers make me feel more comfortable. So I think that's what we're going to stick with. But biggest update is my little pansy, my first little pansy seedling came through today.
No sad pansy seeds.
No sad pansy seeds. I think it's the Nature Antique. Those are the happy yellow ones. So I'm very excited.
Wait, what are they called? Nature Antique pansies? I want to look it up real quick.
Yes. Yeah.
Nature Antique Shades Pansy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how pretty.
Aren't they cool? Yeah, very excited about them.
Oh my god. Oh, this is so your color palette. I don't know if that'll come up.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I got kind of nervous because the germination time is a little bit longer. I was getting a little nervous after a few days, but it does appear as though they're starting to kind of pop through. So that's what's going on.
So exciting. Isn't it funny? Even though you've successfully done seeds, it's like you do a new one and you're like, did I forget how to do this? I do that every year. I start seeds every year, and every year I put the seeds in the ground and I go, probably fucked that up. Probably forgot how to do this. I don't know why. I think I don't know what I'm doing. How weird. I've been doing this for years. But yeah, for some reason, every time I'm like, oh, well, we'll see. It's like,
I hope it works the same.
And it always does. Like, I've never had a year where it's not worked. Well, that's all very exciting.
Yes. What's growing on with you?
I made a list. Which should alarm everybody. Okay, my flowers are popping up. That's very exciting. I direct sowed a bunch of flowers like cosmos and zinnias and nasturtiums, and they took a minute They took a minute to start popping up. Didn't love that journey for me. But they're popping up now. We got a bunch of rain last week, which I think just really helped
Mm,
in general. And speaking
mm.
of other seeds popping up, so people get very worried when they direct sow stuff outside and it doesn't come up for a couple of weeks. Y'all, I direct sowed a melon seed probably 3 weeks ago. It just came up. So if you're direct sowing stuff outside, sometimes it just takes a minute.
So I
Sometimes,
was just going to ask that. Generally, is that a rule of thumb? If something germinates inside, I mean, because which makes sense. If you have a heat mat and a light source,
yeah, like
it's gonna
everything's very
expedite that.
controlled. Yeah. Whereas when
Right.
you put stuff outside, things are just not as controlled. Seeds can rot in the ground, but typically what happens is they just haven't. You might have put them a little too deep. They might just need a little more time to find the light. You might have not watered them in enough, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, the problem is I don't remember which melons I put where.
Now, this feels like a constant obstacle for you, like a constant
Like a
theme.
constant opportunity for improvement. Yes, it is. I kind of talked last week about how chaotic my spring garden planting has been.
Hmm.
And I don't think I fully addressed the fact that when I say chaotic, I mean I power planted, power augered holes in the ground. I dropped my seedlings from a standing position and I tried to aim for the hole. And then I filled in the dirt with my foot. This was the most least effort spring planting that I think I've ever given a fuck about.
So, where does this, my type A
Did that
feelers,
just
or just,
hurt?
it did a little bit. So, we don't like chaotic gardening.
No.
But this doesn't feel like a planned garden situation. So you just ended up
No.
somewhere in the middle.
No, it was planned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
That was the most pacifying. Yeah. Yeah, you crazy bitch. That's what that.
I believe that you believe that.
No, so this was very planned. So when I say I augured the holes were in a very specific place. And then I organized my peppers, for example, by super spicy peppers and then sweet peppers. But then I just was so tired and not wanting to do it that I just, listen, it was low effort.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And
Okay.
guess what? It all looks great.
That's all that matters.
It's all
Yeah.
thriving. It all looks great. And I have no regrets. I did almost regret doing it because I was like, that was dumb. I took no care in that. Let's see, what else is growing on? Oh, fuck citrus trees in the ground. I'm done. I'm done. I decided to be a stubborn lady over the last few years, and I was like, I can make citrus trees survive in the ground. False. No, you can't. You want to know why? Because Central Texas gets real winter. Okay, like we get actual winter. It gets actually cold here. It gets freezing. We've had snow. We have ice storms. Lord help our power grid every February. We get real winter here. It's not for long, but it's a real thing. So I have started replacing my weak ass citrus trees with things that are actually winter hardy. So I have a Gala apple that I talked about last week. I have a Texas pink pomegranate to replace one of my citrus trees. And then this weekend I was at the Oak Hill Plant Fest. So fun. And I got a Italian black fig because those are
Ooh.
also cold hardy. You know what, Cam and I, it's such a hard thing to go cover the garden when it's gonna
Yeah.
freeze. But then
Yeah.
having to cover the fruit trees, I'm like, why am I doing this? This is dumb. And Cam hates it. Least favorite job out in the garden, bar none. I'm kind of just done. I'm just done with it. I finally, after years and years and years, I acquiesce to everybody who told me it was a bad idea. You were right. So I'm done. I'm done with it. So I have the trees, but I got to dig the holes and put them in the ground.
So, will you try again potted citrus trees, or do you think you're just going to take a sabbatical from the citrus for a while?
So I think I'm going to take a sabbatical because
Okay.
even with the citrus in pots, like, love
Mm-hmm.
that idea, but you still, like, they require so much more care because they're in pots, right? You have to water
Yeah.
them, you have to fertilize them because they're in pots. Then
Yeah.
when it does freeze, you have to bring them inside. And so the way that our backyard is set up, we have kind of this side yard that
Mm-hmm.
you would have to put the trees on a dolly, okay? Take them through the side yard and then up to the garage. We also live on a bit of a slope. So you would have to take them up to the garage to get them out of the cold. And then you would have to take care of them in the garage for the days and nights that it's freezing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Way too much effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Way too much effort. Now, if I had the small greenhouse,
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
if I had, which, like, not completely out of the question if I'm being honest, because I'm kind of over having seedlings in my fucking closet with lights.
It's so funny that you say that because I've only been doing this for 4 weeks
Are you over it?
and I already, no, but I've already sent Matt a link
To a greenhouse?
to a greenhouse, to a mini one from Costco by Artistry.
Stop. Is it the cedar one?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
I don't know. Here, let me send you the link.
Because truly.
It's still up on my phone.
Oh, this was very recent. If I had a greenhouse to where the travel distance was not that far, then
Yeah.
I would do potted citrus. But just with the layout of how our house is, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's not going to make sense.
Oh my God, yes. No. This is, Bailey, you know this is 8 foot by 10 feet, right? This is not small.
Okay, it's not like huge.
You're
I don't
right.
know where I'm going to put it.
It's not huge. I just felt like my best friend Robin in that moment. You're right.
You kind of sounded
Did I?
like her.
I channeled
Yeah.
my inner Robin. I did. Dude, I want one of these so bad. And honestly, you know that metal bed I have in the back corner?
Yeah.
I would totally give up that whole entire space.
So if you go
For that
onto
thing.
their website, they do have a 7 foot by 6 foot.
That would probably be better. Oh, wait, they have the 7 foot by 6 foot at Costco.
Oh, do they? Okay.
This has gone so off
Yeah,
the
so-
rails. We're
We're just
shopping.
online shopping
Now
for
we're shopping.
greenhouses.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Even if you bought a greenhouse, is that really what you would use it for? Citrus.
No, definitely not. I would use it to get my seedlings out of my freaking house and
Right,
like
yeah.
outside. But it would be a benefit of just being able to pull the citrus trees in for the night. You know, because we don't get so cold that they just need a little something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah. So fuck citrus trees in the ground. That's what's growing on, or what's not growing on. I think that's more accurate. That's what's not fucking growing on. The one last thing that I want to mention with what's going on, and also this is just, it's spring. So in Texas right now, this is the season. So that's why my what's growing on is a little bit longer. My roses are blooming.
Every time you send me a picture, especially the little yellow ones, oh, they just look so happy.
They're
look
so happy. They're like little bundles of sunshine. I'm obsessed with them. So the one that's blooming right now is a gold medal rose. The one that's going to bloom in the next couple of days is called Double Delight. And it's actually one of the dual colored ones.
Ooh,
where
that's
it's like
cool.
white and then it goes up to that really deep magenta, almost red, right at the tips of the rose.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait.
And are
I'm
these-
so excited?
Are these ones you planted last year or this year?
So the gold medal rose I planted a year ago. So that one's a year old. The Double Delight I planted in the fall. So that one's 6-ish months old. But God, it really depends on the variety. Even some of the ones I just planted a month ago already have tiny little buds on them. So it just really depends on like what kind of rose you get. But there is one of them that I got, Proudland, that I actually was emailing with Heirloom Roses today that already got sick. It's savable.
Mm-hmm.
It's savable. They helped me. They told me exactly what to do, but it got a disease called cane blight. which can happen from either overwatering, which I don't think is how it happened because I've been watering all of them the same and this is the only one with the issue, or storm damage. Now, we did get a storm pretty soon after I got the roses and they were like sitting out in pots. So I think that must be what happened, but they told me exactly how to prune it and it's already got fresh green growth coming from the base. But man,
Nice.
it's scary looking. It's like black. It looks like the Black Death of a plant. And you're like, and it travels and you're like, are you going to be okay? So, anyways, that's what's growing on in my garden. What's the best thing that you learned this week?
So now that I feel comfortable that the peony bush is going to make it, I'm not going to lie. So when I did my first tray, it was all lavender and, coneflowers. And I didn't have super high expectations because I'm obviously a beginner, whatever. The lavender came through and I was like, oh, this is great. And then my second tray, I did the celosia, the gomphrena, the bells of Ireland, and all that stuff just popped right up. I was like, hey, this is going pretty well.
I'm good at this.
And they popped through 2 days after I had seeded them. And so this time around with the pansies, it's taken a week, and I was starting to panic a couple of days ago. I was like, oh God, oh no. I was really excited about this, and I really hope I didn't mess this up. And I went back and read Brenna's book again. So a couple things. One, pansies take 7 to 14 days to germinate, which is much longer than your celosias, gomphrenias. Those things literally popped within days. I was not prepared for pansies to take quite so long. In addition to that, I got nervous. I started reading, I went back to Brenna's book because once again, I'm taking a lot of information and I don't know, fun fact for your day, you only retain 20% of the things that you get told or learn. So I go back, I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I'm doing this right? My understanding was pansies need to be grown in the dark. And people even tell you to put a black trash bag over them. They're supposed to keep them warm, but they germinate in the dark.
What?
Yes.
I'm not questioning you. I believe you. I'm surprised. I just don't.
Yeah. So what's
I thought that was all
though,
plants needed light. That's like the 3 basic: light, soil, water.
Yeah. So Brenna's book does talk about the fact that she actually tested a tray of pansies to see if she didn't really cover them and if she applied light, if they germinate the same way. And actually they germinate a little bit faster in her experience. So while pansies normally, I think that's why pansies are such a popular spring flower because they germinate in the dark and it's still dark this time of year in many places in the country. So anyway, so now that some of them are popping through, I have to turn the grow light on. But found that was very interesting. And I got to be honest, when I read that, I panicked and I turned the grow light on for a day. And then I was like, well, no, maybe I shouldn't do this. So I've oscillated between
these seeds are like, is it the apocalypse? Like, did Big Bang just happen?
Yeah, this bitch is turning the light on, turning the light off, turning the light on, turning the light off. She can't decide. I'm just trying to get them to grow. They did start popping through, like I said. So I got to take the dome lid off. But I thought that was very interesting. Like the only other thing, the best thing I learned, I haven't shared this with you, so everyone gets your real reaction in the morning.
I'm so scared.
Well, I fell down the hole of growing flowers for dried floral wreaths.
Yeah, so how much amaranth are you going to grow?
Amaranth, straw flowers, all kinds of stuff. Celosia.
Friends, listen up. We've officially lost her. She's gone.
Down the hole. Here's the funny part. I was ruminating over this last night in bed while I was watching. Garden Answer actually has a fantastic video on dried flower wreaths. The one that she made is amazing. It's fantastic. Yeah. She also lives on a flower farm, so I'm not going to have those kind of expectations.
Oh, she lives on
one that looks like
she lives
that.
on like a whole estate, literally making her estate look like a freaking botanical garden is her job. That is her and her husband's job. That's what they do. It blows my mind.
Yeah, so I don't have those kind of expectations, but what's funny is when you and I first started going through the whole the plan, right, which we talked about in prior episodes, I was very married to dahlias and peonies and all these very big dramatic flowers. Yeah. And you actually had straw flowers on the plan. And I was like, nah, I don't know. And now I'm like, okay, so I wonder if I get halfway through summer and things start dying back, if I can plant things by the fall to do. Can I plant straw flowers to be able to do dried floral
She's planning
wreaths?
on succession planting.
Yeah.
I mean, listen.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it works in Ohio. Like, I don't know how that works, but I think you could easily do that. I think you could even do some small cutting sunflowers. You could hit fall vibes hard.
Yeah.
I
think that's what, and
I have all my sunflowers sitting next to me. These little Goldie Bear,
yes.
that's fall AF. You know what I mean? Oh, those are Magnolia Giant. Okay, no, you don't want any of the rest of these. But you could even just do some smaller cutting sunflowers. I mean, you could, if you wanted to refresh, you really could.
Well, I've now traveled down that path because it's still pretty warm here in November.
You don't have any plants in the ground and you're already planting. No. You're already planning your second phase of your cutting flower garden.
I know. I think this is how people become full-time flower farmers. People, you just fall down the hole farther and farther. So yeah, anyways.
You fall hard.
Those are some of my learnings. What did you learn this week?
So I published a reel that went viral, feels aggressive, because my viral reels are over 1 million views. This one is in the mid 100,000 views, I think, and it was all about bugs in Texas. I didn't think it was going to get so much attention. There are some videos I make that feel like a throwaway, and this was one of them. I was like, no, nobody's going to care about this. People have feelings. And it's funny because all the people that live in the South are like, yes, everything will try to kill you and you should wear shoes. And then there's people who live in Canada or Maryland or Maine or British Columbia, and they're like, this is why I don't live any further south. I mean, it is the polar dichotomy of the two groups of people is honestly hilarious. I'm finding out that fire ants have victimized most of the population, which I agree with. Fire ants, I don't know why they exist. That just feels dumb. So anyways, yes, that was pretty hilarious. So the best thing I learned this week was that everybody has critter problems. Because here's the thing, and we talked about squirrels last week and how much I hate them. I also don't like bugs. And people find that wild. That I hate bugs. Bailey can attest to the fact I have been deeply terrified of bugs for my entire life. My whole entire life, I've been deeply terrified of bugs. That doesn't mean I try to hurt them. Just to be abundantly clear, unless if you have touched my person, you are fair game.
Yeah. Sorry, the electric racket was just coming into my mind and I just wasn't sure.
I was about to talk about the electric racket. I was getting there. Okay.
All right. Sorry.
It's okay.
I brought you to the precipice. You may now proceed.
Thank you. I may now jump over the cliff. So sometimes you will find me out in my garden in the summer with my electric tennis racket. Mm-hmm. Now, before anybody loses their fucking shit about me hitting sweet little pollinator bumblebees and butterflies, those aren't the ones I'm aiming for. Okay? The ones I'm aiming for are these stupid leaf-footed bugs that every year find their way to my tomato plants, and that's where they lay their eggs and shit. It's disgusting. And they will fly at your fucking face.
Oh.
Because they're being territorial. You want to know what happens when you do that? You become French fried nature.
You become part of the crispy South.
Part of the crispy South. That's good. Yeah, no, I don't fuck around with this. Or I have big orb weavers. Have you ever seen an orb weaver spider?
So, yes, I think so, because we live near some woods, and I came in contact with one last year. That's how we'll say it.
They're huge.
They're huge. Yeah. Absolutely huge.
They love my garden because there's so many other buggies. And it's fine. You can love my garden. I need you to kindly get out of my way when it's my turn.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll take the racket, no electricity, everybody don't lose your shit, and I'll just move part of the web so that they just move to one side and disappear into the abyss. Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I really use the electric racket as a tool for death, but also for good. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of bugs. I don't like them touching my skin. I don't like it at all, actually. I actually have a tattoo on my lower leg that is a very realistic botanical tattoo of wildflowers. And sometimes when it's super buggy season, I get scared to wear shorts outside because I'm scared that they're going to think my leg is a plant. So, yeah. It's a beautiful tattoo. I love it. I love showing it off.
Yeah.
I don't like wearing shorts out in my garden during
Yeah.
bug season. So the other thing about the bugs is a lot of people were telling me that the cicada killer, do you know what that is?
Is that the big speaking green?
No. What are you talking about? Are
I
you
have no
talking
idea.
about a
Oh,
cartoon character?
I think I'm talking about a praying mantis. Not the same.
No. No,
It's not
no.
the same.
Nope. No, not even close. No. A cicada killer is one of the biggest wasps in the US, just by the way. Yeah.
Is that a type of wasp?
Yes, they are called cicada killers. Hold on. It was in my post, so I have a screenshot. Hold, please.
I thought when you said cicada killer, you were giving it a different name.
Bailey,
not.
look at that. That is a wasp. Look at how massive that is. Yeah. Everybody, there was a crop of people that were like justice for the cicada wasp. I'm like, just call it a cicada killer. It's okay. And they're not really aggressive towards humans, but this is my third year in this house, and the last 2 years, what they'll do is they're burrowing wasps. They live in the ground.
Oh no. Okay.
So
that's very dangerous.
They make a nest, like a hole. It's basically a fucking hole in the ground. And they get really defensive over that space. And they're not going to really sting you, but they fly at you, and it's terrifying. So last year, I was relieved because this one cicada killer that just keeps coming back did it in a part of the yard that we don't really have to go into. It's kind of in the corner by the rain garden. But the year before that, our first year in this house, it was over by my garden beds.
Great.
So everybody's like, justice for the cicada killer. And I'm like, no, because it lays claim to my backyard for 2 weeks out of the year. And
Yeah, it's fine. The bugs can be out there as long as they do not impede what you're trying to do.
No.
I'm the same. I'm not out there killing bees or killing anything if I don't have to. But if you're going to impede my ability to enjoy this process and you're going to be violent about it, we can be violent. That's fine.
We can be violent. That's fine. This is where, you know how everybody's like, I match energy, except they're talking about their enemies and we're talking about the bugs.
Yeah. If you want to be out there, go for it. But you just can't impede what I'm trying to do.
Just like, give me my own space. And people, I like freak out when they get close to me. And people are like, if you wouldn't freak out. And I was like, do you hear how loud that thing's buzzing? You know that thing was designed to have an injectable venom that just goes into your body if it gets mad at you? Like, no. Anyways, this has gone completely off the rails. The best thing I learned this week is that I'm not alone in my hatred of the buggies. Because sometimes when you're a garden girly, people think that you are frickin' Cinderella and that you just tame all the nature and that you're friends with all the things. And I'm here to tell you, they can have their space, but I would like mine. And I would like for those spaces to be very separate.
I think that's fair.
You can be a plant girly and not a bug girly.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Look, my husband and I, we love being outside, but I am not a tent girly. I like being outside until nighttime. And I'm not sleeping in a tent. I can't do it. I love that journey for others, but...
And then I would like to go back to a hotel.
Yeah, with a bed. We tried the glamping experience one time 2 years ago, and it was a disaster. is a disaster. I will never do it again unless I have to.
Okay, but you had the experience one time.
I did, and I'm so glad I did it one time. And look, the facility was beautiful. It's just not my thing. That's all. It's just not my thing. I love being outside. I love hiking. I will literally go out for 12, 14 hours hiking and being outside. But at the end of the day, I'm a pumpkin, and that pumpkin needs to be inside.
I will turn into a pumpkin if I don't find a hotel.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, just something with walls is good. Yep.
Okay.
Real walls that a bear can't get through.
Yeah, you guys did that. Where was it? You guys were in Utah or something. Wyoming.
We were in Utah and it was on the edge of bear country and it was late September and we were on the edge of the property and it was very cold that night. It just generally was not my finest idea, but we did it and we made it and it's fine. We did it. And I'm glad I had that experience. I won't do it again. Willingly.
Willingly. All right, are you ready for some no dumb questions?
I love this segment. Yes. Actually, I have a question, but I would like others to go first.
Okay. Somebody, Monica, 23, I think that's how you say it. Or you just love your Kia and it's Mon Kia. I don't know. Do you trim flowers? Trying to get into growing flowers and I just have no clue. So I'm going to tell you my experience. Bailey's a lot. She probably at this point knows more about flowers than I do, if I'm being honest. There are certain varieties of flowers that you can trim or kind of pinch the first blooms to encourage them to kind of branch out. Zinnias are a good example of this. Now, I will tell you, I've had amazing zinnia plants that I've never done this with, and they turn out great. And just kind of naturally, I'll cut that first bloom, and then what'll happen is the place that you cut that at, you'll have two plants that grow, two different branches that grow from that cutting point and produce more blooms. So there are some flowers that you pinch back or that you trim, and then there are flowers that you don't. So sunflower is a good example that you got one stem and one bloom. That's not turning into a bush. So if you trim it, you just
That's it.
That's it. You're done.
That's it.
So, Bailey, are there any flowers that you know of that you pinch back or trim, or is it mostly in your education so far, just kind of let it ride?
I think it's definitely depends on the flower, right?
Yeah.
Because to your point, peonies and roses, I think you're supposed to pinch to
They're
get
like-
them to grow and
They're
be
like
big.
bushes.
Right, but if you're
Yeah.
growing something like a coneflower or even a snapdragon where the stalks are a little bit different, I think you may have to treat it differently. So I think it's very heavily dependent. I guess what I would say is it's not exactly like a house plant where you can kind of make it shape itself. It's really about what you want, right? To Brooke's point, if you want lots of growth, every time you cut it, it'll kind of start to grow new growth in certain areas. So I think it's all about what you want, and if you're trying to control the size, it just kind of depends.
Well, and I think the other thing that I did, because I didn't know anything about flowers when I first started growing them, and I don't grow anything super complicated. I do like sunflowers, zinnia, cosmos. I do all the snapdragons, all kind of the basic ones. And because I didn't know anything, I would just plant them. I just would let it go. So the first time you plant something, I would just let it grow naturally the way it's supposed to, and then maybe do more research later. But the first time, I think with flowers, I think some people, the goal is to cut them and bring them inside, right? You're still going to get that. But if you're wanting to like maximize your production, right, that's where you get into pinching and stuff like that. So I would say my advice for a first-time flower gardener is just let the plant grow the way it wants to grow and go from there.
Well, because you also want the plant, especially if it's something like a bush, like a rose bush, a peony bush, something that's going to be established.
Yeah.
You also, I mean, once again, it's all about intention and what you want out of it, but you want it to be a healthy plant. You also don't want to start trimming it too early and kind of stunt its growth. So,
yeah, like even my young rose bushes, they lost some of their leaves because we got a frost, and I did not freaking touch them.
Yeah.
So like, I probably won't even prune them until they're at least a year old. And even then, depending on how they're growing, I still might not touch them.
Yeah.
Next no dumb question comes from Aaron Kate Curtis. How dumb am I for planting 4 corn plants in the corners of my cucumber beds? Feral much? I have so many questions about this.
I do too. And I don't know much about vegetable gardening, but
Aaron,
where would you like to start?
Aaron, I'm really worried about you. That's where I want to start. I mean, listen, girlfriend, I believe in your crazy dreams and I hope it works out for you. But a few items of business to attend to real quick. Corn needs to be planted in blocks. Like you need to plant them next to each other because the way that they germinate, have you seen corn plants and they have those little tassels?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how they germinate. Is they have to be like touching. That's why cornfields are planted with plants so close together. So the tassels kind of blow in the wind, they fall down and pollinate all the stuff underneath, which is how you grow corn. So I think your corn plants are going to be really green and pretty. I'm really worried about them producing corn. Also, you said your cucumber bed, and I have questions because usually when you grow cucumbers, you grow them up something. Are you just letting them crawl on the ground? Because
I wish this person was here.
I know.
Yeah, I feel like we need more details.
I know. Aaron, I might DM you. I'm not going to lie. I have your name. I might just ask if you're okay. And so but then if your cucumbers are crawling along the ground, they're going to start crawling up the corn plants because that's how cucumbers put out runners.
Maybe
that grab on.
Maybe that was the intention. Maybe that's what she wanted.
Maybe. I mean, the Three Sisters method does that with pole beans, but Aaron, if you're listening, we need a lot more information. It was a feral choice, which we always support here at What Sisters Grow. To be abundantly clear.
Yeah.
We will always support your feral choices as long as nobody's getting hurt in the process. But
yeah.
But I am worried.
I think I just would like some clarity on a few things. That's all. I just would like some clarity.
I just have a lot of questions. Okay. Oh, love this question. And then we'll get to your no dumb question, Bailey. How do I create a garden bed border that's low maintenance for my front yard? I love this question. So I'm not a really big native plant person generally. I think when people get into native plants, they get deep in. And I'm down with that. There is some kind of moral superiority complex that is not my favorite thing with the native plant people. So not my favorite attitude. But my rain garden are 90% native shade, water-loving perennials. And let me tell you, I planted that sucker last year and I thought it looked great last year. It looks 100 times better this year and nothing has even bloomed yet. It's just filled in. I've barely watered it. It is looking phenomenal. So if you're looking for a garden bed border that's really low maintenance for your front yard, I'm not somebody who wants to, I have so much to take care of in the backyard. I don't really want to take care of my front yard. If people saw what my front yard looked like, they'd be like, what Brooke Rose does not live there. And so I would just suggest finding some native plants. A lot of county extension offices will have a ton of resources about plants that are native to your area that will just come back every year that you don't have to mess around with. So that would be my suggestion for that.
I love that.
All right, Bailey, I'm dying to know what's your no dumb question.
Well, so we talked a little bit last week about Zubru and the peonies. And I remember seeing in one of your videos, you were using something specific, I think from Heirloom Roses when you planted your roses.
Yeah.
So is there a recommendation, similar to the Zubru, which they said was really good for the peonies, is there a recommendation from you on specifically, it doesn't have to be the stuff from Heirloom Roses if you don't want it to be, though, you have 20% off, so it might be. But what should I be buying?
For roses, you want to, and I'm obviously learning a lot about this. I'm a new rosarian, if you will. So the amendments they recommend from Heirloom Roses are an aged cow manure. And they also recommend mint compost And the other thing is bone meal. So bone meal is
Mm.
super high in phosphorus. And phosphorus, there's a lot of science behind it, but just for the general listenership, phosphorus will equal more blooms. So that's part of why, and phosphorus will also help things like bulb. So I will give my onions phosphorus probably in the next couple of weeks to help them bulb up. And then that's why I plant melons in my onion bed because it helps the melon produce more blooms, which produces more melons. So that's why you want to do phosphorus on a lot of flowers, and that's your bone meal. And then your aged cow manure is going to be a really good source of nitrogen, which is going to help you with foliar growth, like that really nice green, dense growth. So that's what you put in the hole when you plant the rose.
Right.
And then actually, it's funny we're talking about this because I was doing a little bit of content planning this morning. And I was like, okay, cool. I've got my roses in the ground. Now I need to tell people what's next.
What do I do now?
Roses are in the ground. What do I do now?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what you want to do is you want to side dress. And side dress just means sprinkle it around the base of the plant, dig it in a little bit with that mint compost or just any kind of rich compost, but then also fish fertilizer.
Back to the fish fertilizer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
It's not that great. I'm going to be honest with you, but it works great. It's organic. I would highly recommend if you're going to do fish fertilizer, do it at night so that the smell can dissipate overnight. Because it is literally liquefied, nasty smelling fish guts that you mix with water. But it works. But it's gross. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's not a dumb question.
I know, but it's the question section, so like I've just thought I'd wait.
That was, yes. Good job. So proud of you.
Thanks. Just following directions.
Just following directions. Okay, Bailey, what is the most feral thing that's happened to you this week? Or do you want me to go first? I can go first.
No, I can go first. So
You seem so excited.
well, once again, I don't know that it's something that happened. Well, it kind of happened to me. So I am a yoga instructor. I'm not actively teaching, but yoga is something that I do in my spare time. And since moving to Central Ohio last year, I've been trying to find a yoga studio. And for whatever reason, last Thursday, work's been really crazy. And I kind of just I had a lot of energy at the end of the day. And so I went and tried a yoga studio in my area that had been recommended to me by a few people.
My God, you texted me and told me, and I never heard this story.
Yeah, and let's be real, I'm not going to talk about all the details on the podcast that I was probably willing to divulge in that moment with you on the phone.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, first of all, before I get into this story, the yoga studio is beautiful. The people there were super nice. It has nothing to do with the studio specifically. It has everything to do with the environment in which I found myself. And what I mean by that is it's a yoga studio that focuses on hot yoga. And for whatever it's worth, I used to teach a 75-minute power hot yoga class when we lived in Cleveland, which I
would be a little scared to take your 75-minute hot yoga power class. I would fear for my life a little bit.
I don't know. Being a yoga instructor is one of the greatest joys of my life. Yeah, I mean, I was not an easy teacher for sure. I have not personally stepped into a hot yoga studio room for my own personal practice in 6 months. I've been going to other non-heated classes, I don't know, a couple times a month, right? Because I found Pilates and I really like it and it's right around the corner. So with all that being said, I go to this new studio and, the girl at the front desk, I know the drill. I go in, I say, hi, I'm, Bailey, I'm here for class. And she goes, oh, you're new. Just so you know, if you're a new yoga student, it tells people when you're a new yoga student. So you should definitely go tell people at the front desk, that you're new. It's not a weird thing. I could talk about that for hours. Anyways, so she goes, have you done yoga before? And I said, yes, I have. And she goes, okay. She was like, so do you know that this is a hot yoga class? And in my head, I'm like, this poor girl has probably had so many people come through here, that don't know.
Out.
They just don't know. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So we do the whole rigmarole. And then she even asked me if I had a yoga mat. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. So I go in. once again, I know it's hot yoga, but this is a different level. It's got to be over 100 degrees in this room. So I used to teach hot yoga in a 90-degree room, okay? And for those of you out there that are really against hot yoga, I'm happy to have an educational conversation with you about it. But
you should not take her up on that, because that means you're going to get wrecked. Just to be abundantly clear, when Bailey says, I'm happy to have an educated conversation with you on it, what she means is, I invite you to get wrecked.
So anyways, I walk in and there's a lot of young people, which is to be expected, but a lot of people in sports bras. There's a lot of men.
Okay.
People are dressed for hot yoga, but this hot yoga class, this was hotter than any hot yoga room I've ever been in. I've been a practitioner for almost 10 years, and it was so hot. And once again, I knew what I was getting myself into, so I'm not complaining, but I go in, I get down on my mat, whatever, and the girl even said, the instructor said, she was like, the first half of class is going to be really fast. And in my head, I said, uh-oh, okay. Yeah, boy. So we're going through, and I got to a point where I stopped doing chaturangas, which by the way, once again, if you're in any yoga class, don't take every chaturanga. I could talk about that for hours. And if you don't, not a yoga podcast, but
if you're not a yoga person, a chaturanga is basically like a yoga push-up.
It is a yoga push-up. And it just, I stopped taking the chaturangas at some point. So then the second half of class was slower, but somehow harder. So by the end, and I'm not one of those people that works out in a yoga class without like a t-shirt on, but I finally took my t-shirt off and just had my sports bra on because I was dripping sweat. I mean, Brooke, they have heaters. Not only is it a heated studio, but they have the little round heaters. There was one woman at the front of the room who turned the heater towards herself. And I was like, are you trying to crawl into Satan's asshole? What are we doing right now? Yes. What is happening? I was drenched with sweat. And afterwards, I did call you because I wanted to tell you.
I'm really concerned about all these people.
Well, so naturally I come home and I walk in the door and I look like I have been just run over by a truck 5 times.
Yeah.
And Matt looks at me, he goes, are you okay?
No, sir, I'm not. I have been through it the last hour of my life.
I'm not really sure. I'm not sure. Because he asked, he's like, would you go back? And I said, I think so. But here's the thing. I don't think I would go back in the evenings. It's way too intense. The heat's really intense. But I got my butt handed to me in a very big way in that class. Okay. And one, because I hadn't been to yoga. I hadn't been to a hot yoga class in 6 months. And the girl was super sweet on the way out. She goes, you have a beautiful practice. And I was like, thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Thanks.
But
I feel like I'm going to die.
Yeah, it was
next
wildly
time.
hot in there. Yeah, I mean, so it was a wildly feral situation.
I mean, it kind of feels like it. I'm like, my shoulders keep getting closer to my ears because I'm just really stressed out about how hot that was for you.
And they had great attendance. There were at least 20, 25 people.
Pain.
Well, they really like heat and they really like detox, which is cool. The most feral thing that was happening in that room, though, was the one woman who she was by the heater and she physically turned it to herself. And it's already 100 degrees in the room. I mean, so it was a good yoga class. The instructor was great, but oh my God, bless America. It was so hot in that room. And I was laughing at myself leaving. I was like, that was so hard. It was so hot.
That crying where you're like, well, I made it. No, I'm so good at this.
It's wild. Just wild.
Oh, man. Well, the most feral thing that happened to me this week happened today, and I have not had a chance to tell you about it.
Oh, no. Okay. All right. I'm ready. I've resituated myself. Oh, God.
Okay, so I am actively choosing to talk about this on purpose. I had to drop off a certain sample at a lab today.
We're talking about this.
We're doing it.
Okay.
We're doing it, yeah, because what happened at the lab was the most fucking feral thing that's happened to me in so long, and I'm honestly terrified. So I don't need to go into detail about what this sample is. I have diagnosed digestive problems. Do the math, okay? This is
Yeah.
normal. Lots of people have to do it. And I'm just going to take my opportunity to say this. If you have tummy troubles and they are chronic, go to a doctor. Okay? Go to a doctor. I was sick for 8 years before I got diagnosed with celiac disease. And just please go to a doctor. Okay, so I had to drop off a certain sample at the lab today. Okay. Now, the time that I had to go was the middle of the day. Normally, when I go to the lab, because I unfortunately have to go at least once a year for blood work, I go first thing in the morning because I usually have to be fasting and they open at 7 a.m. So normally I'm with all the other very prepared people at the lab at 7 a.m. It's like going to the gym nice and early with all the people who just want to work out and leave and they're like not there to dick around. Okay.
Yeah.
So I walk in and I've already planned myself a treat after this experience. Okay. I've already planned to pick up my favorite sandwich for lunch after this. So I walk in, I sign in on the little iPad, I pick specimen drop off as my option, and I go sit my ass down. Okay. The waiting room is so full. There are so many people there, okay, who I'm sure are waiting for blood work, which is fine. It's lunchtime. They're busy. So I sit down, and there's not that many seats. So I take one of the only seats that's available, and I notice in the corner, there's a mom and her teenage daughter. And I'm sitting there, and I realize that the mom is cleaning something up off the floor.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Now, before we continue on with this story, I need everybody to know I hate vomit. Hate it. Hate it. I can deal with any other bodily fluid other than vomit. Even in the times where my husband has been ill and has thrown up, I have actually left the room. I don't want to.
Is it the noise or
it's all of it?
All of it.
It's the idea of it. It's the noise. I don't really drink ever anymore, but even when I used to drink, I would stop myself from getting too drunk because I didn't want to vomit. I avoid vomiting like the plague. If you are that drunk, I'm not helping you. You are on your own. I'll make sure you're alive. Yeah. But I'm not helping you. So back to the lab. I sit there. I'm realizing she's cleaning something up off the floor. And I'm like, that's really unfortunate for me. And I realize, and this is where it gets a little bit sad, but more feral. The teenager who's sitting there is drunk. She is wasted drunk. And her and her mom are having this conversation, and her mom is so pissed. Like, her mom, I'm like, girl, you're lucky you're in public because she might get you. And so the girl's wasted. She's like, why am I not in school? And the mom's like, because you got kicked out. And the girl goes, why? And while she's talking, she's hiccuping.
Oh, we've entered territory.
Really bad.
Okay.
Really, really bad.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And she's slurring her words. She's staggering. And I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna throw up again. All I can think about is this girl next to me potentially throwing up again. And
this is the waiting area?
Yes.
For blood work?
It is full. There's 25 people sitting in this room where this is happening.
We should be taking blood from somebody who's drunk, but okay, keep going. Keep going.
Not sure why she was there. So then the girl's like, well, why did I get kicked out? And the mom's like, because you keep pulling this fucking bullshit. And I was like, oh, there's something going on that I don't need to know anything about. So I realized, I was like, I can't be here.
Yeah.
But the kicker is I couldn't leave and come back because the sample that I had to leave was frozen. So I had to leave it there because whatever. So I run up to the window. And by the way, I would just like to take a quick moment to shout out anybody in healthcare. You guys deal with the most feral fucking things and people.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you work in healthcare, if you're a nurse, if you are an admin, if you are a doctor, I don't care what you are. If you clock in a healthcare facility, you are a fucking angel. Okay?
Yeah. Hero.
You are
Total
a hero. You are a hero.
Yeah.
Well, except for the girl that took my blood yesterday, that kind of fucked me up. But she will be a hero. Okay? She's just in training.
One day.
One day. You're actually not that close. You really fucked up my vein, but you will be someday. Okay? So I run up to the window. This girl looks at me like, bitch, why are you at my window? And I looked at her. I said, ma'am, I said, I don't know what's going on over there. I said, but I think she's going to throw up. And if she throws up, then you're going to have multiple people in your waiting room throwing up. And that's going to be a problem. I said, I just need to drop this off. I said, and then I really need to leave. So I'm sorry that I'm doing this. I know I'm being a problem, but for the health and biohazard safety of everybody in this room, I gotta go. And she looks at me, she goes, I understand. And I was like, oh, thank God. And she was actually the person who was there yesterday when I had to do blood work. So she recognized me, thank God. And so she just like took it, got my information, and I fucking booked it. I have never, and I was trying real hard to be quiet, but like not that hard, you know, because I was very panicked and very upset. And so I left, and I'm a little nauseated because I'm like, I can't believe that just happened. But I still went and picked up my sandwich, and I enjoyed it. I still went and picked up my favorite sandwich.
So I was really nervous. There were so many points in that story. First of all,
where things could have gone really wrong.
Well, I got nervous when you said that the woman was cleaning stuff up off the floor, and I wasn't sure what that meant. But then I got really nervous because I know how severe your aversion to vomit is. I was really scared that you were going to tell me that you threw the specimen at the door or something and ran away.
Oh my God, no. I would, after the trauma of having to collect said specimen, that thing was
you
getting.
You don't want to do it again.
No, that thing was getting fucking delivered. It's getting delivered, okay?
Yeah.
So, anyways, that is the most feral thing that happened to me. I hadn't even had a chance. I tried to call you, but you were busy. And I tried to call and tell you about it because I was listen, I hope that girl and her mom are okay. She's in high school. She got drunk, whatever, you know, but it was just one of those things where I was like, oh no.
Oh no, I can't be here anymore.
I can't be here. I literally told the lady at the desk, I don't know if she's a nurse, I don't know what her title is. I literally said, I can't be here. I was like, that girl looks like she's about to throw up. If she throws up, I'm donezo. So then you're going to have lots of people throwing up. And I don't think you want that. So I can't be here. But I really need to drop this off. And she just like, homegirl understood the assignment. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, she also probably doesn't want. If all you're there to do is drop off a specimen or a sample or whatever, right? Exactly. You don't need to sit there for 25 minutes waiting for somebody. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I get it. I get it. That was
a journey. That was a ride. I just took you on.
That was a journey. Yeah, especially since I believe you tried to take the specimen last night, and I was on the phone with you, and you discovered that it was closed.
We were closed. It was 4:45, and I was trying to make it there before 5, but then I realized they closed at 4.
Yeah, it's really sad. I've done that a couple of times trying to go and do blood work, and all of a sudden I get there, I'm like, it's closed.
So there you go.
Closed.
That's the most feral thing that happened to me. I just told that story for the whole wide world.
You did. I'm shocked you did.
You know what? No regrets.
No regrets.
People go through this shit all the time. Pun intended.
Pun intended.
All right. Well, thanks to everybody for joining us this week. This is another fun feral week in the gardens of Brooke and Bailey. Next week's going to be super fun. You want to know why? We're going to get to debrief on building Debbie's garden.
Yes. Yes, we will. Are you guys are headed there this weekend?
I am. Just me.
Okay.
Yep.
I will wish you luck.
It's going to be great.
We're also going to be able to debrief on Groovy Plant Ranch is having another plant festival this weekend, all about irises. Oh, I know. So good. I know. I keep asking myself if I need to go ahead and pre-order if I'm going to be that person.
You need that.
We can't go.
You need that one. You need it.
Well, I know, and we can't go till Sunday.
What are you doing?
I know. I know. So we're going to have so much to talk about next week.
We're going to have a lot to talk about next week. Yeah. Debbie's our mom, by the way. And there's a brand deal that's going to be happening on my Instagram and my YouTube to build Debbie a garden. And by proxy, Tom, but mostly for Debbie. So I'm super excited to share that journey and talk about it. And yeah, pumped. Get Debbie into gardening. I'm just slowly infecting everybody around me.
Yes. Hey, you know what? It's a good infection to have.
It is. This got weirdly medical at the end. Huh.
I agree. Yeah, which is funny because I have clinically diagnosed health anxiety, so it's just it's not my favorite place to play, but we're here.
All right. I think we should probably cap it. This is getting weird out here.
Agreed.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. Leave us a review, leave us a like, leave us a comment, send me an email. Smoke signal. Can't promise I'll get it. But thanks so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.